Hi, kids, and welcome back. I hope you guys are all having a great summer, and I hope that you've been enjoying your time at home. Today, we're going to be going ahead and learning about more of the fruits of the Spirit. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we can go ahead and talk about it together. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about gentleness. And gentleness is one of the fruits of the Spirit that we're going to be talking about. So let's just go ahead and review our Bible verse. This is one that you've been learning about the past few weeks, and hopefully you have some of it memorized. And I just like for us to go over it. And today we're going to be focusing on this piece, gentleness. So it says, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self control. Against such things there is no law." So each of these fruits of the Spirit isn't an actual fruit. These fruits of the Spirit are things inside of us that God is growing and making us more like Him. And I know we all want to be more like God because God is perfect, and He is just someone we want to please and love. So today we're talking about gentleness, but what does that mean? What does it mean to be gentle? Well, gentleness means being kind, soft, loving, and tender. So you might have heard this word before when you think about maybe if you had a new brother or sister. When your mom came home from the hospital and you had just this little baby, you had to be really gentle holding her or him. You didn't want to hurt him. Maybe this happened with a new puppy or a kitten, or if you caught a butterfly, you don't just squish it, you're not rough. You're very gentle and soft. You want to show that you love it. Similarly, over here we have this plant. We have to be really gentle because if we are rough with it, it would break and then it wouldn't grow anymore. So Jesus calls us to be gentle, and he was gentle. So we're going to learn a little bit about how he was gentle, and then we'll think about how this could impact us as kids following Christ. So first, let's look at Matthew 11, verses 28 through 29. This is when Jesus tells us that he is gentle. It says, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavily laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Now, I know there's a lot of big words in there, but what this is saying is it's saying that Jesus is going to take things that are heavy, things that are stressful. So over here, you can see that this lady was carrying this heavy thing. That's kind of like your yoke. And Jesus came over and he's helping and he's going to take that from her. So she doesn't have to carry that anymore. So we can think about how sometimes there's things that are really hard, but we don't have to do those things alone because we have Jesus with us and he gently will help us. And there's that word gentle again. So sometimes you might feel like this girl, you might feel frustrated and angry, or like this girl who just doesn't know what's going on, is upset. But we can remember that Jesus is gentle and that he's going to give us rest and help us with things that are hard for us. So that's a great example of being gentle. So our Bible story today is going to be coming from John 8, verses 1 through 11. In this story, we're going to learn about a woman who sinned. She did something that was wrong. And in that time, the law was that if someone sinned, people could throw rocks at that person, and they could throw them until she died. It was a very sad thing. And in this story, we're going to see how Jesus is gentle with this woman. She deserved to get hurt and have rocks thrown at her because she had sinned, but Jesus is gentle with her. So as we read this story, I want you to think about what Jesus does to be gentle. Okay, so let's read. It says, Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. At dawn, he appeared again in the temple courts where all the people gathered around him, and he sat down to teach them. Sorry. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in adultery. That's a type of sin. They made her stand before the group, and Jesus said, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. She was sinning," he's saying. "In the law, Moses commanded us to stone such a woman, to throw rocks at her. Now what do you say?" They were using this question as a trap in order to have a basis for accusing him, Jesus. But Jesus bent down and started to write on the ground with his finger. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." Then he stooped down and wrote on the ground. So he's saying, okay, you can throw a rock at her, but only if you haven't sinned yourself. Because if you're throwing rocks at her because she sinned, then that means that you shouldn't have any rocks thrown at you. Hmm. Well, I'm pretty sure that everyone but Jesus has sinned, so I don't think that they can throw any rocks. Let's keep reading. At this, those who heard began to go away one at a time, the older ones first, until Jesus was left with the woman still standing there. Jesus straightened up and asked her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? Has no one thrown a rock at you?" "No one, sir," she said. "Then neither do I condemn you," Jesus declared. "Now go and leave your life of sin." So Jesus down here, this is an example of gentleness. You can see my arrow for gentleness. Jesus knew that he could have everyone stop standing there wanting to throw rocks at this woman because everyone was a sinner. But Jesus hasn't sinned. So he could have thrown the rock at her. She deserved to have her punishment. But Jesus was gentle. And instead of throwing rocks at her, he decided to forgive her and let her have another chance of being less sinful and not making those sins. So that's a great example of being gentle. And that's how Jesus is. So Galatians 6, verse 1 says, "Dear brothers and sisters, if another believer is overcome by sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person back into the right path." So what this is saying is if you see someone that made a sin, just like this woman did, you shouldn't point fingers at her or throw rocks at her like up here. Instead, you should be gentle and humble, just like Jesus was. It says, instead we should think or say, "I want to gently tell you about something because I care about you." So when we talk to people, even if we know they sinned, we want to make sure that we're doing it in a gentle and loving and kind way. So I can think about this in my own life, or maybe your life, and I think, okay, maybe you have a brother or sister and you see them breaking a rule or you see them doing a sin. Now you could point at them and say, "Mom, Dad, this brother or sister is doing this thing that's not allowed." Or you could go and talk to them. You could say, "Hey, don't forget that you're supposed to follow this rule. And I'm telling you this because I love you." And when we do that, it's a way of being gentle and kind. So let's check ourselves. Let's think. Were you gentle last week? Let's think about what you did last week. When were you being gentle? And also, I want you to think, how can you be more gentle this week? Think about how you did these things. Did you love people? Did you listen to people? Were you comforting to people? Were you kind to people? Those are all examples of being gentle. So I hope that you can think about ways that you did this last week and ways that you can improve, do a little better job of being gentle this next week. Okay, thanks for listening. Let's go ahead and pray together. Lord, thank you so much for this opportunity to be together. I thank you for all of the little ones that end up watching this, and I just pray that you'll be with them and fill their homes with your presence. I thank you for your gentleness and for the good example that Jesus was with this woman that committed adultery. I pray that we can all be a little more gentle with each other and that we can follow Christ's example. Thank you for the opportunity to learn about the fruits of the Spirit and that you are inside of us and you are helping us learn and grow and be more like you. Amen. Okay, well, thank you, and I hope you have a great week.